All right, good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. It's your boy, Kevin Thornton. You have tuned in to the Wellness Architect Show. Today is Monday, July 30th, 2018. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I certainly did. My family came in town for a family reunion, and so I was able to get reconnected with my family, eat some good food that I don't usually eat, and I just have a good time. So I hope everybody had a great weekend, and we're going to start off as we head into August. So tonight, I have an amazing guest. I've been telling you all along since I've started doing the show that you attract who you are. As you elevate your energy and frequency, you attract people of like mind and like personalities. And so tonight I have Coach Andre Fullwood on the show, and he's going to talk about Man Talk. That's his brand. And things that he do, and he also has a book out called Careless Whispers, so we'll talk about that as well, amongst other things. So without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Andre Fullwood. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. Thank you so much for having me, Kevin, on your show. Truly blessed and honored, amen, to be on your show tonight.
It's an honor to have you. Can you tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how you get to this point in your life?
Woo! I don't know if we got enough time for all that, Kevin. They're going to have to get both books. But, I mean, just glory be to God. Really, I've been telling people lately that my best years have been, I just recently turned 54 this month. And my best years have been really the past 2 years. Not to discredit, high school football accolades and bodybuilding accolades and being called to the ministry and things, being called to the ministry is always precious. That's a precious thing. But to go through what I've been through, matter of fact, I can characterize it best as if you've seen the movie I Can Only Imagine. I don't know if you saw that yet.
Yeah, I have.
And remember everything that he went to that really, everything his life he endured really prepared for him to write that song.
Exactly.
And that's how I feel my life is. That's how I feel other people's lives are, that throughout my failed marriages, my ups and downs in the ministry, everything has prepared me for this moment. Never imagined about being a 2-time author. Mm-hmm. Never imagined really even being a coach and teaching people how to rethink their thought process and really live out their destiny. I've been driven, and God has allowed me to. One thing I say that about myself is God has given me this spirit of tenacity that regardless of how many times I've fallen, I keep getting back up. He will not allow me to stay down. He will not allow me to have a pity party. You know, I tell people, if you're going to have a pity party, do it for a day. I'll give you 24 hours.
Exactly.
After that, we're going to stop all that. We're going to get back on track.
Exactly.
But he has just put that in me that regardless what people had said about me, regardless of, because a lot of times people identify you by your behavior, but that's not who you are. Mm-hmm. Your behavior, my failure, in being in committed relationships, my adulterous acts, the whoredoms, just, all those things, people kind of label you like that. I even had a relative say, who's going to listen to a minister who's been married 3 times? Well, God knows. Only God knows. It wasn't my intention. It was never my desire. And a lot of us, if you look at our lives, we never desire how our lives have been constructed.
Right.
But a lot of times we do things based upon habitual habits or what I call proclivities. And so I had a very strong proclivity of sexual perversion, sex, and it has damaged a lot of relationships. It's broken a lot of women's hearts. It's done a lot. And the one thing I can say, Kevin, is that, you know, some people do things one time and they get the death blow.
Mm-hmm.
They get that death sentence.
Right.
Glory be to God that I have not. You know, God has mercifully protected me, protected my bloodstream, if you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Where I'm pretty healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm pretty healthy. Glory be to God. And so I'm grateful. And in return, the one thing that has motivated me the most out of the past 2 years was I came to a point where I can't fix myself.
Right.
We can see, you know, a lot of us, we can see what our issues are.
Mm-hmm.
And we can acknowledge, you know, probably to ourselves or, you know, in our closet,
mm-hmm.
that, you know, I got this pattern that I just can't break.
Right.
And the more we set our minds to, okay, I'm not going to do this again, or, you know, I told myself I'll never do this again. But God said in his word that I go to and fro looking to see who I can be strong for. Mm-hmm. And until we can admit the fact that we're weak,
right,
God will keep going. He'll keep riding right past us. Because as long as we are saying to ourselves that I can do this, I can overcome this, the I can get myself together, right, then what we're really saying is, God, I don't need you. Mm-hmm. But when I came to myself and realized, Father, I can't do this, and I need your strength, and I need your supernatural power to deliver me from this cycle and break this cycle, that's when my life really started to change.
All right. So what people don't know, you're a two-time author. We're going to talk about your books, but you also have an internet radio show as well is it called Man Talk?
Yes, sir. Actually, I have 2 radio shows, but Man Talk is every Monday night.
Okay.
Man Talk was really, I believe it's God's second term of grace for me. Mm-hmm. When I given my life back to God in 94, 95, and I'm like, you know, Lord, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm still, you know, I'm married, you know, I was remarried, and I still have these struggles, and I know I'm not the only man. So at that particular time, he gave me Brothers United for Christ, where brothers were just, and this is during the time of Promise Keepers, if you remember Promise Keepers.
Yeah.
But it was during the time where, you know, I would bring all the pastors within the local community of Mount Clemens area of Michigan, and we would just set down our titles and we would just do men talk. Mm-hmm. And throughout, you know, a few months, a year or so, I kind of let it go. And it's like Man Talk has been like a rebirth because of my rebirth of what God has been doing in my life. Mm-hmm. And by me releasing the first book, both books are on Amazon. The first book is called In the Midst of My Mess. Mm-hmm. And I talk about, you know, at the time that the gray-haired gentleman who shined my shoes, when I just got through coming from the friend of the court, that you're going to be a minister. And out of respect, I didn't laugh in his face. Mm-hmm. You know, I have ministers on both sides, my mom's side of the family, dad's side of the family. I said, God ain't calling me. Right. If he knew the stuff I was doing, he knew the number of women no, I'm not a preacher. And he never invited me to church. He never said anything. He never even asked me about my relationship with God. And I would say about a couple of years later, I end up being at the same ministry he was at. I end up receiving my calling. He was there when I announced my calling to the ministry. And my pastor knew that there was something special on me. And so I preached my first message in February 15th, 1999.
Wow.
And so with that, though, see, people don't understand that preachers are not perfect. And if you're looking at your pastor as a perfect person, you got to readjust your eyesight.
Right.
You got to readjust your eyesight because they have their own issues. They have their own battles. Prayerfully, they're minimized. But with all that, my heart goes out to them because we've heard a lot of pastors who have committed suicide. Mm-hmm. A lot of pastors quit pastoring because of the pressure and the stress. So I really have a heart for them And that's really what Called in the Midst of My Mess was about, was sharing my stories as a minister, about my life, my ups and downs, doing my bodybuilding days. The reason, one chapter is called Doing the Right Thing, where I got married based because they were pregnant and I wanted to do the right thing. So I have a chapter about that. I talk about the struggles within, how the door was open that gave me really the permission, or how the seed was planted that gave me permission that I could have sex as much as I want with whom I wanted, uncommitted, as long as I had a condom.
Wow.
And that wasn't even revealed to me until 2 years ago. I was 52, and the Holy Spirit released that to me.
Wow. So now what is Careless Whisper about?
Careless Whispers is a follow-up to Called in the Midst of My Mess, but it deals with why men cheat.
Okay.
Because that was my proclivity. I was a cheater. I was a womanizer.
Mm-hmm.
I was all that.
Okay.
I was all that. This book right here.
Yes, sir.
And it was birthed out of Proverbs chapter 5, when Solomon was talking to his sons and said, "Stay away from the woman with the flattery lips, whose words taste like honeycomb, but in the end it's like bitter wormwood." And that's why the cover has the woman's lips on it with the honey, because many men have fell prey to careless whispers, to women who are seducing us, women, whether through physically, through their eyes, through the way they dress. Men of God has fallen prey. It's throughout history, the word of God, that, and who best to talk about it but Solomon, of all people. He knew. And when God laid this on my heart, it was last November. Last November, I was Uber driving at the airport, and I was just reading. It had to be November 5th, because with Proverbs, you can read a chapter per day per month.
Right.
And I just heard the Holy Spirit say Careless Whispers. And so both books, man, I'm very open about my life. I share things that the Holy Spirit, each book is Holy Spirit led. Each book, I'm not ashamed to share what God tells me to share.
Right.
There's even been some healing. There's been some hurt. Even some anger comes out. Whenever you write a nonfiction book and it's about your life, the Holy Spirit, to me, that's another form of deliverance. That's another form of healing that takes place within the individual, and they have no idea what God is going to do. And that's what happened. So out of Careless Whispers, and then Man Talk was birthed. He gave it to me. It's time to relaunch Man Talk, because now I'm at the point that I can be transparent.
Right.
I'm at the point that, am I perfect? No. Am I better than what I've ever been? I believe yes. Right. And is God still working on me? Yes, He is. But Man Talk is just that, for men to come together and let's talk. Let's talk. And my mission and my goal is to take it to whatever city a pastor is out there listening, and he wants to say, "Andre, I want you to bring Man Talk here. Let's do it. Let's do it." We just wrapped up Pensacola 2 weekends ago, and man, Kevin, it was phenomenal. Really? The way the Holy Spirit moved, and men crying, men weeping, and it's God when the host pastor, when his words were confirmed on people that we never met before. I know you just from the connection of Facebook, don't know you personally, right. But in the midst of that ministry, if you was there, I'm sure one of the prophets, one of the men of God would have spoke something to you like that we had no clue of, but only you. Right. And there was pastors that came on that Saturday that was just, they were in awe. They were in awe. And then it carried over to Sunday with the whole congregation of the host pastor, where Prophet Terry and myself, man, we we ministered to the whole church probably in about 2.5 hours. We were just laboring to God. And so God was just bringing that momentum. And the host pastor, Senior Pastor Brian Thompson, he said, all I got was the confirmation of, this is the seed that's being planted for Man Talk. This is the seed. This is the start. We're already planning for next year, but this is the seed. So don't worry about the numbers. But the way the lives were touched, men's lives, it was, people came from Minnesota, some came from Mississippi, some came from from Atlanta. So men were coming, plus the whole city, Pensacola. So men were coming from all over. And the next one is October 27th in Spartanburg.
That's in South
In
Carolina?
Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Okay. So part of my whole mission and purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower people to be the best version of themselves, mind, body, and spirit. But also, I use this platform as a way to help change the narrative of how society and media portrays black men or men in general. That's why I always try to seek out men doing great things. And as a life coach myself, I understand how important it is to have men talk and create that safe space so we can have a conversation and be vulnerable and all that kind of stuff. So when I heard what you was doing, I thought I had to have you on the show, because that's something that I have been passionate about, because I've been trying to figure out how can we create platforms for the men to come and create that safe space and have conversations so they can heal themselves. Because I think the part of the problem we have as men, we have a lot of pain that we have not dealt with, and we've been taught not to be vulnerable, not to express emotions, so then therefore we don't deal with it. So then hurt people hurt people. So
Yes.
until we learn how to deal with those emotions that or situations that is hurting us, all we're gonna do is continue to hurt other people and hurt ourselves. So I gotta give kudos to you and everybody else what you're doing.
Bless you, man of God. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really, when God gives you a second time around, you don't want to mess it up.
Right.
You don't want to mess it up. But I believe that, all of us have a purpose. And I believe a lot of men, we don't know our purpose. We fail to connect. And because a lot of things that we've been taught is not necessarily true.
Right.
They could have been true back in the day when it worked for them.
Right.
But, in this day and age, we've heard a lot of sisters. There's been times I've ran across women I used to date, and I've apologized for my behavior. I apologize for hurting them, because, when like I said, when you come to yourself and you realize, the question has to be asked: why do I behave the way I do?
Right. Right.
Why do I behave the way I do? And you have to also get tired of going through the same cycle over and over and over again, like a gerbil on the wheel. Is like, when are you going to stop? When are you going to realize that this is not the life God has intended for you? But we've grown up with fatherless fathers, and even with fathers being in the home, they can still be fatherless.
Right.
They're not teaching us. How are they teaching us? Are they teaching us on the spiritual foundation of how a man should be, how he should withhold his body, how he should flee from youthful lust, all those things? If you don't flee from youthful lust, and you continue in that lustful path, though, it's just going to increase.
Right.
And Paul said in Galatians 5, he's talking about the more we feed the flesh, the more. My pastor, my apostle, Ryan McJimson, he said the flesh wants what it wants. So you can tell it, while you feel strong, you can tell it that, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. But when that flesh says, feed me, that's where the war is. And I tell people all the time that our biggest enemy is ourselves.
Right.
It is truly ourselves. And we have to change the way we think. We have to change that process.
Right.
We have to stop thinking irrationally, because irrational thinking produces irrational emotions.
Exactly.
Irrational emotions produces irrational behaviors, and then we got irrational actions. So it's a trail, and so we have to focus on our mindset, and we have to seek God, because when you've been in something for so long, and it's built layers and layers of a foundation in your mindset, you need the power of God to move upon you.
Exactly. So, in your opinion, what's some of the major reasons for all the hurt that the men are enduring?
Oh man, I believe one is the absentee of a father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I believe that's critical. Not just any type of father, but I'm talking about a strong father, strong but humble, a man of God, that a father that teaches a son how to work,
Yep.
how to take care of home, how to be faithful to one woman. If you're not going to be faithful to her, let her go. You know, don't spread your seed all over the place.
Right.
There's, you know, that's so wide open right there. And then too, I've seen a lot of men who've been raised by a single mother and turn out to be great men, great fathers, great husbands. And so in that teaching, that's what it comes back to, Kevin. It comes back to the teaching. It comes back to the foundation. You know, we just don't learn 2 + 2 = 4. You know, every child may not learn it the first time around.
Right.
So it has to be repetitive, and it has to be constantly rehashed and retaught. And really, those principles need to be laid out. And then when you see that when the homes are fatherless, that means the mothers are even working. They're working 2 jobs. They're working 3 jobs. A lot of men are raising themselves, or the streets are raising them.
Right.
They don't know what love is. They have no idea what a love of a father is.
Right.
They don't know that it's okay to be in touch with your emotions.
Right.
It's okay to cry. It's okay. It doesn't make you a weak man. So there's so many stereotypes that we're learning from different segments of life.
Right.
that are not true. They're irrational, what I call irrational core beliefs. We don't express ourselves to a woman that's been good to us, and we know that she's a good woman to us. But even the Bible says, and I can't remember the verse in Proverbs, but it says that the man is never satisfied. Why aren't we satisfied? Why can't one woman satisfy us? Why can't we be happy and hang up our hunting rifles, hang up our tools that we go hunt with? I've caught the one, I've chased after the one that I've wanted. I know she's good for me and everything else. Why can't we be satisfied with them? And a lot of the images that we have, whether it's from our uncles or our cousins or maybe our fathers, is strong generational curses of infidelity, adultery, fornication. You getting a pat on your back because, you know, at one family function, you got one girl, another family function, you got another girl, and no one's really pulling you aside and checking you and say, look, man, what are you doing? You know, this is out of order here. We're not getting that. We're getting that pat on that back. You know, yeah, he's just being a man. No, this is not the intent that God intended for us to be.
Right. So, one of the questions somebody wanted me to ask you is, why do men cheat?
Woo. In the book, I did my best to summarize so many different answers to that. One is, like I just said, men they're never satisfied. Men are not covenant keepers. That's the one thing that I've learned actually this year, that we don't know how to be dedicated. We don't know how to be committed. Either we're afraid of being commitment, we're afraid of making commitment, but we just yield to other opportunities. And because it's there doesn't mean you have to eat.
Right. Because
it's there, you know, there's always going to be pretty women. God is not going to stop making beautiful women.
Right.
But you have to have that will. And this is what I learned, Kevin, this year. So much I've learned this year was that that man has to have a will to love that woman, no matter what. And I'm talking about that unconditional love, that he's willing to love that woman throughout the good and the bad. In this book called Irresistible Husband by Edwin Lewis Cole, he gives the description of three types of men. There's a male, there's a man, and there's a covenant man. Okay. And so you have a male. Even when I went through the test, my God, and I had permission to put it in my book, I pretty much, out of the 10 questions, I believe I had 9 questions. 8 of them was a man, and 1 was a male. Wow. And that's just being, it's just being honest, just being truthful. And so my desire, I have a shirt that has a hashtag covenant man, but because that's my desire. Right. My desire is to be a covenant man. But how can we be a covenant man to a woman? How can we be in covenant relationship with a woman if we don't have covenant relationship with God?
Okay.
So with that, what is our desire? And we have to check our emotions, because we'll see a woman that we like, and men, we're visual. So we're attracted first from the outside. We're checking her out from head to toe. And so emotionally, we're attracted. And if I may, I'm going to say this: you can't build a relationship off of sex,
right?
Because of our physical desires to be physical with that woman, and then after we've been to bed with them a couple of times, now we're trying to see who they are. Now we're trying to see if I like them, if we're going to jail and everything else. So now we're trying to build a relationship after the fact instead of really trying to see before the fact.
Right.
And so we find ourselves, here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one. We keep feeding something that does not need to be fed, and it's our ego. Our ego is constantly being fed. We're very prideful. It seems like what do we gain by cheating on a woman?
Right.
What do we really gain? It's selfishness. Any man, you can be mad at me if you like, that's fine. But any man who cheats is selfish. And I'm talking about a marriage, especially a marriage covenant. Any man that steps on is selfish, because you're doing it for selfish reasons. There is no reason known to man for a man to cheat. There's none. There's absolutely none. If you're in your emotions and you say, well, your wife don't do this, and your wife don't do that, then are you praying? Are you having the conversations with her? Right. Many of the reasons why divorces fail, they say sex, money, and communication. But I believe if the communication breaks down, then the sex, you're going to have issues in the bedroom, and you're going to have issues with your finances, because you still need communication in those things.
Yep.
And so why do men cheat? I really don't even think we know.
Right.
I think we just do, and we react because we want it, because there's the opportunity to, because whatever excuse we give still does not justify it.
Exactly. And one of the things you were saying that makes sense is that communication is key, is major. And when I coach a woman or a male, it's funny that, they have this mindset that their spouse or their girlfriend or boyfriend should know what how they're feeling without them actually telling them. So, I think we have this misconception that because I'm married to this woman or I'm dating this woman, that this woman should already know how I'm feeling. And so when you think like that, you set that person up for failure, because down you feel like they don't know me well enough, or do they really love me like they think they should? Because if they did, they would know I'm not happy. Well, no, I don't know you're not happy. I could tell that you're happy, and what's cause you to be unhappy is if you tell me. And that's the problem we have. There's a very lack of communication. We as men don't say anything, and a lot of times the women may not say anything. And so how can anybody change the situation if we don't have communication?
You're right, and that's the assuming. Yep. We're assuming just because you're with someone, they should know
how
you feel.
Yep.
And everybody may not have that spirit of discernment so precise, to be able to slice up your every mood, or and you know, I say this too, Kevin, that a quiet man is a dangerous man. And I'm sure it could go the same way with a woman. The woman's quiet, but I can speak for myself during the times when I got quiet and my conversations was just pretty much just routine and basic.
Right.
You know, yes, no, you know, is the bill paid, but not expressing anything on the inward. Then my mind was going somewhere else. My mind was shifting somewhere else. And a lot of times we make a false belief in saying, well, if I express myself to her, she's not going to understand me anyway, so why should I do it?
Right.
And what you don't express at home, you're going to express somewhere else.
Right.
I worked at Ford Motor Company for like 5 years, and any type of factory where you spend a lot of time with people, and people end up with work wives, they end up with work husbands. I worked at the casino. My God, that was crazy. And because most of your life is spent there, and if you're home, if you can't communicate at home, sooner or later the tea kettle is going to start steaming. It's going to release steam, and unfortunately, it's going to be released. You only talk to your boys for so much.
Right.
Otherwise, there's going to be a female companion or coworker or someone that you're going to start sharing with, and the things that you're going to share with her, she's going to look at it as, wow, she has this great a man, and she's not doing A, B, C, and D, but she's only getting one side of the story. When she becomes herself attracted, and he becomes attracted, probably just for the simple fact that she's listening. But why can't we take all that information that we're spewing out on the job? Why can't we go home and just take your woman by the hand and say, baby, I want to talk to you, and I just want to lay everything out? And I shared this with someone recently, that a man wants to come home, and he shouldn't have to feel bottled up. He shouldn't have to feel that he can't express himself. You know, the thing about Samson was he just wanted to lay his head. He just wanted to lay his head down. He just wanted to vent. He just wanted someone that would listen, because he was getting so much resistance from the Israelites because of what he was doing to the Philistines.
Right.
Men want to come home and just lay their head down, and they just want to be able to exhale without being discredited as a man. Or, you know, if I had such a rough day with that, when I'm come home and I'm tearing up and I'm crying, that shouldn't mean that I'm less than a man. It shouldn't mean anything. But we have to break the barriers to, like, look, I really just need to express myself to you. And to my sisters out there, if you have a husband out there, you got a significant other, and if he's saying, I need you to pray for me because I'm struggling in an area, that struggle doesn't mean that he's doing what that struggle is.
Right.
It's just that there's pressure and there's temptation coming at him, and he needs you to intercede for him. He needs you to, so it's not the time to start picking up his phone and trying to scroll through his phone and see what he's doing. He's expressing to you like, look, you know. And even the men at the Man Talk, they said, it's hard enough being a man. Just trying to be a man by yourself is hard.
Yep.
It's hard trying to be a Christian man, trying to live under the commands and what's expected of us from God. And not being racist, but being a black man that's a Christian, you're still trying to be a man. That's not lightweight. That's a lot of weight right there.
Right.
And we should be able to come home and be able to drop the weights. We should have someone there. And that's why we just can't hook up with anybody.
Right.
But we should be able to come home and just have one of those moments, or call throughout the day and say, baby, sometime tonight after we put the kids to bed, or if you're home, if it's just two of you and you got an empty nest, I just need to talk. Let's go to the park. Let's do something so we can share those things. It's pivotal. It's pivotal. And we have to stop being prideful, Kevin. And we have to stop. Let me say this. There's times when a man cheats and say he left that one woman to went and go to the other, and because we don't deal with our emotions of the other person, because as men, we're black and white. If there's a problem, we're fixers.
Right.
Okay. Here's the answer. Let's move on. Next. There's really like no emotions involved.
Right.
involved in it. But when we leave one and go to another, if we haven't dealt with those emotions, we're, you know, the other woman seemed pretty good for a while.
Right.
But sooner or later, you're going to start missing that other woman. You're going to start missing some things that she did for you. And then that's when the man starts trying to go back because he realizes, one, I still have feelings for her. And I'm also involved with this one. And I haven't dealt with it. And so sometimes the new woman finds the new man going back to the old one because he still has what I call residue of the past relationship.
So, I have a question. I want your input on this because I had some guys on and we talked about relationships, and some of them had the firm belief that good guys finish last. Do you believe that to be?
Good guys finish last. I don't know, Kevin. I can't say 100%. There was a song that R. Kelly wrote some time ago. It was called One Man.
Right.
And pretty much one man messes it up for the next man to come. And so really it's based upon the woman that you have and what she's been through. Say, for instance, if you're a gentleman and you open the door for her, you pull out, you know, her chair when you go out to eat.
Right.
You know, chivalry is not dead.
Right.
You know, in you know, as you being a man. And a lot of women look at that like, what's wrong with him? You know, if women have been used to really like knuckleheads, guys that mistreated them, cheated on them and stuff, and then when a good man comes, and if they don't, they may seem like, you know, maybe weird at first because they don't understand or they never experienced what it's like to be treated good.
Right.
And if that woman dismisses that good man, then you know, good men do finish last. But for that woman to be able to embrace, you know, and, you know, you may see some rough edges about her, just like a woman may see rough edges about a man. But if she can see what God sees, and if a man can see what God sees in her, and then a man can really take his time and begin, because really when two people get into a relationship, you're really molding one another. You're sharpening one another. That's why I believe when the scripture says iron sharpens iron, because things get hot, personalities get hot, things of that nature, because you're molding. There's some roughness here and there, but overall, the good men finish last. I can't answer. I'm like 50. I'm 50-50 on that one, Kevin.
Okay.
Because, you know, like I said, to me, it's based upon the type of women, you know, that they've run across. Because some women are so guarded now because they've been hurt, and you can't blame them because we've hurt them. We took their love, we took their, you know, they welcome us in their home, they welcome us in our family, in their families, and then next minute we jet on them. You know, so some women are super protective, and it's understandable. I think as a good man, if you know your heart is good and your intentions is that we have to have patience. If that's the one you're pursuing, if that's the one you believe could be the one, then you have to have patience with her. Pray for her, especially if it's been revealed to you that she is, you know, the next Mrs. or the Mrs. So you want to pray, and that she recognizes and that God shows her. Because a lot of times God will show us and haven't shown them yet. Right. You know, who is this nice guy? What's wrong with him? You know, and then what if, you know, and let's be totally transparent here. And what if the guy is so good, so much of a good guy that he's not even trying to sleep with her until they say I do. Right. So what's wrong with him? Is he gay? You know, did he not like, you know, right? Was I not attractive to him? Right. You know, he did not try to make a pass at me. No, the man just respects you. Right. He respects you. He's not like, you know, the other guys, you know, and someone may be like, well, where is he at? Where is he at? But when he comes, are you ready for him? Right. You know, when he comes, are you ready for him? You know, a lot of women throw out the Proverbs 31, but even while you're waiting for quote unquote your Boaz, or you know, Boaz has already been taken and he's dead. But when you waiting for your man, for God to send that one who finds a good wife, are you already the good wife? You know, the
Right.
Bible says man finds a wife, which means she's already operating in that wife mode. She's already operating in it. She's already preparing her house. She always does. She's already doing the best and has the high quality of things. So she's already preparing herself for, and she's just waiting for that man to come.
So I can go several different ways for what you just said. We're gonna go with the chivalry part. You said chivalry is not, which I agree. Do you feel this no longer required by women?
Hmm. Okay, we're living in a time, Kevin, women are so independent. Uh, but I believe so. I believe it's still needed. I just believe that it hasn't been shown, and not many out there do it.
Right.
But do I believe it's needed? I do, because we have disrespected women for so long. We disrespect our sisters for so long that the respect needs to be restored. And one way of restoring that is opening the doors and, you know, making sure that if you drop her off at, you know, at the house, making sure she gets into her home safely. You know, checking on her as she's driving home. You know, you just want to make sure you made it safe. Those things are chivalry to me. Still, they're necessary.
Right.
They're very necessary. I remember my youngest son. He's that way. He was doing that with his mother. He was opening up the door when we were together. He was opening up her car door.
Right.
You know, before he even got in before he even got into the car. So I strongly believe that it's necessarily needed, and I think somewhere along the line that either, you know, it's one of those things we haven't been taught. We haven't been taught. So how can you do something you haven't been taught unless God just really, you know, he just instills that in you,
Right.
you know, to do. But to me, it's just, to me, that's a wonderful expression, to know that a woman don't have to touch the car door. Now, if your hands are full, you know, and you're carrying stuff, then, you know, then she has to get her own door. Then that's one of those rare opportunities. But
Right.
for the most part, man, how much? What does it cost you? I've even told women that are going on dates, don't open up your car door.
Right.
Stand on the side and see what kind of gentleman he is. See if he's a gentleman at all. See if he's going to open up your door. See if he's going to just get in his car and he's going to look at you like, what are you waiting for?
Right.
That's an indicator right there.
So, okay, so what if men say that they don't want to do all that chivalry stuff until they feel that the women have earned that right?
What if men say that they don't? To me, for them to say that, I guess I don't understand why not. Do women, you know, because they, you know, if they're coming from the point of the woman being so independent, she can open up her own door and everything else. Yes, that is true. You know, and some women might say, no, I got my door. You don't have to open it. Then, you know, what can you do? But at least make the effort.
Right.
At least make the effort to be a gentleman, to open up the door, open up the car, open up the door. If you're going in a movie theater, open up the door for her, you know, she's going in. You know, don't walk ahead of her, walk beside her. To me, those are just so simple of things that can win. You know, it can get you those little extra brownie points, you know, but don't do it just, you know, just to win brownie points. Do it because that's who you are. And that's the respect that you have for her. It doesn't take anything away from your manhood. And even at first she might say, you know, you don't have to open up my door, I got it. But if you still want to show that expression that, you know, hey, I honor you and I want to do this for you, I'm sure over time she'll probably will let you.
Okay. So.
And then if you keep doing it, she's going to expect it, and that's fine too.
Right. So you said something about it doesn't show anything towards the man's manhood, and that thing's part of the problem too. I think men feel that if they do these chivalrous acts, that they look soft and then the women gonna look at it as being soft, and they're gonna treat them as being soft. What do you think?
Can you say that one more time? Because I can barely hear you, Kevin.
So they were saying that if a man does the chivalrous acts, that the women may look at them as being soft. So they don't do it because they don't want the women to think they are soft or treat them as being such as being.
Well, I think that goes to me with what type of woman is she? What type, what is she used to? What type of men has she dated? And maybe her whole life she's just been used to opening up her door, and it's never been a big deal. It doesn't mean that he's soft. It doesn't mean they just haven't experienced that and don't see the. I guess what comes to me is the inner beauty of simply just having a gentleman open up the door for you, to let you get in the car, things of that nature. So that, to me, that boils down to, the type of woman and what she sees and what she's used to. As far as a man, some women like that hard, rough, that rough dude, And so if you're one of those nice gentleman type dudes, it just may not be a match,
Right.
And you just have to accept that.
Right. And so I think that's what we got to. I'll try to tell them, just because that particular person didn't mess with you doesn't mean you're supposed to change the essence of who you are to try to attract the woman, because there's a woman out there for you just how you are. So don't change who you are. I think if you change who you are and how you deal with women, then you'll get the women that's the difference is gonna change any kind of way. What you think? Because I hear a lot of guys feel like they nice guys in general, but then they feel like they always getting treated poorly, so then they want to start being the dog, which is really not in their nature. So do you think that actually works for them?
No, it's not going to work. If you're going to change, don't let one woman change who you are. Don't allow a couple of women to change your character. Maybe you're just picking the wrong women. Maybe you're just picking the wrong type of women that's not used to being a gentleman, who's not used to having those things. And it's not necessarily that to those women it's a bad thing or something wrong with them. It just may not be a good fit.
Right.
But don't change. I wouldn't change from opening up doors. I mean, even going to a restaurant, you see maybe like another couple walking behind you, or just single women walk. I hold the door open for them. It's kindness. All it is kindness, and there's nothing wrong with showing kindness. There's nothing wrong with showing appreciation. And you never know, that random act of kindness can go a long way for those individuals that you don't even know. So just opening the door, it's just like if you saw me walking behind you and we're both going to the same door, you may prop the door open because I'm coming right behind you.
Right.
It's a kindness act. It's the same thing. So, it's really amazing that a lot of women are not, because they're not used to it, and they're prone for it not to happen. A lot of times when you hold a door open for them, and they could be like several steps behind you, but you just being who you are, and she may not, she may say thank you, most of them they'll do, but you don't know internally what they may do to that woman. It's like, wow, there is, chivalry is not dead. There are still some good men out there.
Right. Okay. So what's going to be your topic tonight for Man Talk on your show?
Tonight it's going to be how do you know when you found your soulmate?
Okay.
And the subtopic I'm gonna piggyback of is, how do you know that you're in love?
Okay.
So one of the questions I did a poll question on Facebook, and I did it on Twitter as well. And this one question was asked to me off of LinkedIn. Is it possible to have more than one soulmate?
Okay.
I had a couple people say yes, and I had a couple people say no. So it's going to be very, very, and it really puzzled me because I never really thought about that.
Right.
The possibilities, is it possible that there could be more than one out there for you?
Now the question is too, do your soulmate have to be somebody that you are in love with? it could, your soulmate, might say that your soulmate could be a relative or just a platonic friend. Does that, your soulmate has to be the person you fall in love with and possibly marry?
That's a good question. And you know what, I would say no. I would say no. Because when you're talking about soulmates, even if you look at the Bible, you look at Jonathan and David, you know, they weren't gay, they weren't homosexual or anything, but there was a brotherly, that was like a healthy, what you call like a healthy soul tie. You know, we have brothers that are, you know, where the relationship is healthy. And so they're like healthy soul ties, they're unhealthy soul ties. And you can have a best friend that seems like this is like my soulmate, but we're just not, you know, we're not there in a matrimony type state.
Right. Right. 'Cause I think sometimes, you know, people say I need to find my soulmate, but your soulmate might always be the person that you end up marrying.
Right.
And I think people miss out.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Kevin.
And I think sometimes with that, people miss out on that true blessing because they felt that person wasn't their soulmate, but that might have been the person for them to actually marry. Because a lot of times your soulmate might not be somebody you actually have to marry. So, you know.
And really too, when you look at it, I have not read where even soulmate is in the Bible. I know about a help meet,
Right.
but a soulmate, you know, really a soul is your mind, emotions, and your intellect.
Right.
And so you can connect with a whole lot of people who have the same type of mind, soul, and intellect, you know, mind, emotions, and intelligence with you, and your souls just connect, and it carries on throughout lifetime.
So do you think a lot of people, when they get married, are they truly in love or are they truly in lust?
Woo. Wow. Now, if we're talking about in the church,
However you want to answer it.
if we're talking about the church, I would say, wow. I wouldn't say 100% lust, but I would probably say more lust than love, than the true love, the true agape love, the true willingness to die for that other person, that covenant relationship, because we're trying to not feed the flesh.
Right.
We're trying, you know, you're dating, you're going out, you know, you're spending a whole lot of time together. Maybe you faltered, you know, maybe you went all the way, maybe you haven't, maybe it's been close. And so, you know, if everything else seems to gel, then you're like, hey, let's hurry up and get married because, you know, we don't want to burn.
Right.
You know, let's hurry up and do this. But is that more because of the lustful passions and fires that flame within the relationship? My one pastor told me years ago, he said he's not surprised when people get divorced. He said because people don't fast and they don't pray like they used to. And they end up and they marry the wrong rib.
Right.
They marry the one that God did not design for them. You know, maybe you missing your rib up here, you know, on your left side, and you're gonna marry the one that's already taken on the right. You know, you're already complete on the right side. You need the one for your left, and they're not there. So he said he's not surprised by it at all. And that's the key is, you know, God, who is my rib? Who is, you know, and we have to stop looking for the perfect person.
Right.
I found out something about myself, Kevin, that just really, I had like a couple of nights of restless sleep, and it's called people judging. And it's not so much you and I we're conversating. You know, it may be some type of character. You know, I see a character flaw in you, but it doesn't stop me from being your friend. Right. It doesn't stop us from hanging out. None of those things. But I saw it that in my own relationships, in my history of relationships, where you can see something about a person Everything else is good. You enjoy everything else about that person, but you see one or two things about that person, and those flaws outweigh all the good.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll dismiss that person based upon those one or two little items.
Right.
You know, I tell my daughters red flags. Don't ignore red flags. So, you know, something where, man, you know what? I saw that and I can't live with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, and you don't give the opportunity for the person to, you don't address it with the person, say, you know what, you did this the other day, and it really kind of got to me. It really made me feel uneasy, especially if we're talking about going to another level. But we just automatically just, I know with myself, what I've done is I have really just, my mind has started to check out.
Okay.
And so we have to be careful of people judging, because we're throwing say 90% of a good person away.
Right.
For a little 10% or something, but you're not looking at, what about you? You're not perfect.
Right. And then, then the question.
So that's one thing I just, I saw in myself that, I said, okay, Lord, I need you to help me fix this, because I don't want to be like that. But to go back to your question, I would say more so out of the lust factor, maybe 60-40, maybe even 70-30.
So do you think
the lust of the flesh? Because one, lust, if you have a lust issue, getting married is not going to fix it.
Right.
It is not going to fix it. Especially if you have not tamed it in any way, shape, or form throughout your life. Getting married is just, you don't have that sin factor to worry about, because now you're making love to your wife. But is she going to be enough for you not to go elsewhere? Is she going to be enough for you to satisfy, your desires, and preferably they're both compatible with one another.
So do you think relationships die because a lot of times we as a couple tend to move too fast in a relationship instead of trying to build a true friendship first and then go to the next level? Do you think people are truly friends in a relationship, or what do you think?
I believe friends is the best way to go, because that gives you the opportunity to get to know one another, to get to see each other in their best moments, in their raw moments. Like I said before, if you end up and jump into bed because of the entices. Now that you've been with them physically, what are they like mentally?
Right.
Do they like a clean house? Are they do they not like a clean house? Are they, what about the kids? What about the parenting? And that's what I'm saying, that after the sex, now we're trying to see, are we compatible? Why don't we get to know each other first?
Right.
And I've been, of course, I've been a part of that the majority of my life, but not, and a lot of things you get blinded by. There's a book, I can't think of the name of it. I was taking it in theological school, where it says, when you find the treasure, this is the man to the woman. When the man finds the treasure, you have to inspect the field. Inspect the field in which you found her, which means check out the family background, check out the siblings, check out the children. How does she, you want to know the external relationships that she has. So check out the field in which she was, which you found her, because it could be some family traits. It could be some things that's going on that if you don't check them out, you can be blindsided by it.
Okay.
And that, that would mess you up. And women do the same. See how that man treats his mother. See how he treats his kids. How is he? Don't even be afraid to ask questions. Because nowadays, one thing I do as well is, because, we're getting older, and, life is not, we definitely know tomorrow's not promised, all these things. And so instead of wasting time, one thing I say in that friendship period, Kevin, is like taking a deck of cards. We know it's 52 in the deck. Split them, 26 apiece. Let's talk about the good about you. Now let's talk about some of the bad. Let's talk about the things that I need to know about you. Let's talk about the things that you don't like about yourself. Let's, instead of just painting this beautiful deck of cards where everything is good about you, no, we know that's not so.
Right.
So let's begin doing that friendship process, doing that talking. Let's begin to lay out the cards about who we are.
Right.
And it's best to be transparent. Tell me something that you may, even if you're afraid to tell me, tell it to me, and then give me the opportunity to say, okay, yes or no.
Right.
I've seen too many people get married and then they find out a whole slew of stuff after the fact. You don't have time for that.
Right.
That's unfair. That is totally unfair. And that is to lie and to sabotage yourself, to make yourself seem like you're better or you got it all together. None of us have it all together.
Right.
None of us. A lot of women there's a lot of beautiful women out there who have ugly personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, man, but she's so beautiful, but her personality, her attitude is so ugly, and sometimes we look at, you ever seen a couple, you're like, how did he get her? Mm-hmm. Well, how she get with him?
Right.
I believe communication. I believe you don't know what the other person desires. And everything is not in the looks, because looks change. Mm-hmm. Body shapes change.
Exactly.
All those things. So that's where it still comes down to the will to love. In Psalms 18, verse 1, David said, I will to love the Lord. His mind was determined to love God, period. As men, we have to have that decision made in our mind that I will to love you. So if she says, well, why do you love me? Why are you in love me? I have a will to love you behind. I understand your faults. I understand your shortcomings. I understand how you want to grow and how you want to be more of what God has called you into. And I want to be right there. I see things in you. Lord has shown me things in you. And I'm willing to go the distance with you, period. Rain, sleet, snow, hail, sunny, high humidity, tropical storm, whatever. My will is that I'm not going to leave you.
Right. So I have a question for you that someone sent in, and their question is, what happens if the wife is growing as a person and the husband is still the same person she met maybe 10 years ago? So he hasn't really grown any. So now there's like a disconnect. But yet they never really had a full conversation about the growth or the lack of growth. What do you recommend to that person?
If she, evidently she's been with him, you said at least 10 years. Mm-hmm. So she knows his temperament. And I would try to find a way to present a nice setting to get him to talk. Mm-hmm. Just, see, what is his goals? Ask him his goals. Ask him what does he desire to do? Where do you see yourself the next 5 years? Things, things of that nature. Things where the questions don't come out and like they're not in attack mode.
Right.
But they're coming out and genuinely, let's talk about our future. What do you want to do? Where you want to go? Things like that. I would start off that way. Mm-hmm. And then you can never go wrong with prayer. Okay. You can never go wrong with prayer. I have witnessed former in-laws of mine, where my mother-in-law was sold out for the Lord. He wasn't. He worked a lot. He was a provider, strong man of the household. Someone that you can really look up to, because he made sure his home, he made sure the kids, everybody knew that, I'm the head here. I'm the father. I'm the king, the priest, and the prophet in the natural sense.
Right.
And there was times when she wanted to go to church, and because he worked so many days out the week, he didn't want her to go because that was their only day to spend time. Mm-hmm. And though it may have upset her, she still, honored his wishes. Do you not know that after he retired, he ended up gave his life to the Lord? And they're on equal planes, and and so a lot of times, like I said, it's prayer, it's persistent prayer. That God will, just mold his heart and open it up. And then too, if you've known him for a period of time, see what, and that's why the dating process is so good, is what is the communication like? If a man wasn't open in the beginning, do you expect him to be open,
Right.
5-10 years down the road?
Right.
What type of man was he when you said I do? Now, the thing is, too, a lot of times we get married and we're not saved, or, we don't have a relationship with the Lord. And then one of the two, surrenders their life to God wholeheartedly, and then the other one doesn't. Okay, you still pray for them, because just like it took you time,
right?
It's going to take him time. But the thing is, what I've witnessed is don't badger. Invite from time to time, but still pray, still honor him as the head of the household, and then vice versa. If he's the husband and he's saved, and the wife has not committed to Christ, you continue to pray and seek God on how to win her, just by your lifestyle.
Right.
Love on her by your demeanor. She might question, who is this man now? Because he has changed and his heart has been, he has a new heart now. His heart is not as callous, it's not as cold. He may be more conversational now. All those things. And so those are like shocking changes to a person who hasn't seen that individual before. So there's always going to be some skepticism to how long is this going to last? Is this just for a little while? How serious is he with God? Everything else. And we just have to live the life. Just live the life. Stay prayerful. Stay prayerful. If you know of any men, that can invite him out and things like that, based upon the type of ministry or whatever, to get him to be, interactive, to get him to be interactive and things of that nature. So I would just seek God for wisdom, because he gives it liberally.
Okay. All right. So the next question came from a young lady who said that her husband no longer can physically please her due to illnesses. She wants to know, is it okay to ask for a hall pass?
No. No, it's not okay. And I'm assuming the hall pass is to step out.
Absolutely.
No, because there's still no justification for cheating. I know that diabetes plays a part. As far as erectile dysfunction, high blood pressure plays a part. A lot of the medicines
for those
that we take for those things, beta blockers, any type of heart medication, if you take too much of it, it can deal with erectile issues. No, you want to find there are natural herbs and stuff that can help out. There are things, there's pills out there that can help with that stuff. It's just for him to be willing to understand that, hey, I need, I'm not fulfilling my wife's duties, and I don't want her to go out. I don't want her to go out nowhere else. And so go to the doctor as men. And Kevin, I don't know about you, but a lot of men don't like to go to the doctor.
Right.
They don't like to go get checkups. Right. And then next minute, stage 3, stage 4 prostate cancer, or all these other things. Man, I'm gonna tell you now, go to the doctor. Go get your yearly physicals, get checked, get your prostate checked. It's better to get a check, in about a 2-second, physical.
Right.
Than to sit there and you end up and you leave your family behind. That's just something you just swallow your pride. I was getting checked at 35 and they say, no, you need to wait till 40. If insurance is paying for it at 35, we getting checked.
Right.
And those are the things. But to encourage him about the situation, talk to him, and let's see about going to the doctor about it. It's not an uncommon thing nowadays. And the fact that when men get over 40, your testosterone levels drop anyway.
Right.
And so there's things that we can do. There's the testosterone boosters, and there's all types of stuff out there to really regain. Even just a clean diet, a clean lifestyle of eating
Yes.
and dropping that weight will give you a whole lot more energy too.
Yes. I've said that to some of the people. And so what if they are aware of all that? They aware the clean eating, they're aware of the exercising, they're aware of all that, but the spouse still chooses not to do anything about it. So now the um, the wife may feel as if he no longer cares about her, because if he took care of himself, then in turn he'll be able to take care of her.
Right.
And so now she's getting frustrated. So what would you, as a coach and as a pastor, what would you say to her?
As a coach and being a Christian life coach, there's no way I would come out and say, well, you need to divorce him. That would not ever come out of my mouth. But I would seek counseling, see if he's willing to go to counseling, see if he's willing to do counseling one-on-one, because it could be something else that's hidden behind. It could be a lack of desire for why, and it may not be against you. It could be something that's just mentally challenging him. It could be a sign of depression. Those things. So I would try every avenue possible. And you can hone in your frustration. Of course, when you're used to being touched and used to being caressed and loved on, and then it becomes less, more and more, your body yearns for that thing. And that's when you need, Lord Father, I need you to help me, because my mind is taking me places I don't want to go to get a temporary fix, because that's really what it's going to be, is a temporary fix, especially if that individual does not want to leave the marriage. If they want to get this little hall pass just for a moment, you have to understand that God still watches. God still watches you, and there's nothing that you can really say to him that's going for him to say, okay, I understand.
Right.
It's not going to happen. The vows we say for better and for worse. Unfortunately, all of us don't take the for worse part. We take
Right.
the good, but we don't take the worst part. However, continue. I can't strongly say to seek God for wisdom. Seek and ask him. Ask your mate wholeheartedly about, honey, this is how I feel, and this is, I need you to, it's not so much. If he cares for you and he loves you, then he would do whatever possible. That's, to try to resolve this and satisfy my man. That's what I would do. I would try as a man. I wouldn't want my wife. And here's the thing too, Kevin. We don't, as men, and even to that question ways back about why do men cheat. When men cheat, we don't think about, as we're going through it, we don't think about, well, what happens if another man gets to my woman?
Right.
Because our pride will destroy us. And we see a lot of men doing this domestic violence stuff of fear and jealousy, envy, where we want to have our cake and eat it too, but how dare we can't fathom to imagine another man receiving what our woman has given to us and then to give it to another man.
Right.
We have to be conscious, and we have to be fair, and we have to stop being selfish. And even for this individual, our brother, if he's doing this, you can't be selfish. You have to seek. You have to get motivated. I just sense that there's other triggers that is causing the individual not to want to get the help that's out there, because it's there. It is so there. There's no reason for any man to have an excuse on their reason of lack, to perform.
Right. Okay. Good one, because they was that was one of my top questions. There's been multiple women who reached out and asked me that question. So I saved it for you to see, since you are a Christian coach,
I
and you do
appreciate you, Kevin. Thanks.
and you
That
do
was
the
a tough one. And then, like I said too, especially for those of you that are married, and I can't stress that more. You want to. Can I say this, Kevin, too? And I was on my birthday, right? I went out and I was treated to a pedicure, and I heard some women out there who were dating men for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like one lady was like almost 20-some years, and he did not want to commit. No marriage.
Wow.
Another young lady, beautiful young lady, like 6 years in, dating this guy and no commitment. The brothers might be mad at me what I'm about to say, but my sisters, don't shortchange yourself. Mm-hmm. Do not shortchange yourself. If he doesn't want to commit, if he wants, pretty much what he's doing is he's leasing you.
Right.
He doesn't want to purchase you.
Right.
And I can't make it no straighter than that. If he doesn't want to commit to you, 6 years is a long enough time to build a friendship,
right, and
to decide if you want to be committed or not. And the excuse where well, all it is a piece of paper. No. It's more than that. And you want the blessings of God to really shower in on your relationship, and the whole the living together thing and all that stuff. That you're not going to benefit from it. You're not, in the long run, you will not benefit from it. And I hear women say all the time, when it doesn't go right after they've invested all this time, first thing they say is, I wasted all these years.
Right.
When actually you are in control of your life. Mm-hmm. You are in control of how much time that you're willing to invest in someone.
Right.
Same with the men. Nobody's holding us, at gunpoint. Nobody's handcuffing us to an individual.
Right.
It is up to you to decide, okay, enough is enough, because these are my desires. And if that individual knows your desires, knows your wants, knows your dreams, knows your goals, and yet still is holding you off, let them go.
Right, because to piggyback off of that, when I coach a young lady and she said, well, I dated this guy for 7 years, so that's 7 years of my life wasted. My response to her is, well, that was a choice on your part.
Exactly.
I tell her, I say, if you have communicated with him what you were looking for in a relationship, it doesn't take 7 years to know if that's what he's going towards. So you can't fault that man. All you could only thing you could control and focus on is the choices that you made. And so you chose to stay in this relationship for that long period of time. So you can't get mad at that man. You got to just look at yourself and say, why did I last in that relationship that long, knowing it wasn't going in the route that I wanted to go? And, because it's easy to place the blame on the guys or the women. And there is some blame to it, but at the end of the day, we got to look at our part too. If we are ever going to grow in the relationship process, we got to look at what part did I play, whether it was a bad choice or whatever the situation may be. What's your thoughts?
I totally agree. And with that, we can go even a little bit deeper and say, did she stay in it that long because of security reasons? Mm-hmm. Finances, finances play a big part, especially if they were cohabitating together.
Fear
being alone, abandonment, rejection. So much so many underlying layers could be attributed to why a person stays in it for so long. That hope that one day he's going to change. And my sisters, you cannot change a man.
Nope.
You cannot change a man. A man will change when he's willing to change. When he's willing to change, he'll change. But to say that, if you love me, you'll change. No, that's
right.
That's not going to work. That is not going to work. He has to have the desire, the fortitude to want to change for himself first.
So what do you think of the women that they want?
Say that first part again, Kevin. You went out.
The men into the type of man that they want. Can you hear?
What type of man do they want?
They, what do you say to the women who said they can mold the men into the type of man that they want?
Oh, mold the men. I believe to a certain extent they can, based on his willingness to change. That I believe, because you won't have friction, but you have to be transparent to say, baby, I want to have a talk with you. We're having a conversation. Tell me some things that you don't like that I do. What is there? Do you see some weaknesses in me that I need to work on to become stronger in those areas? And so the individual has to be willing to talk to the other one. We back to the communication,
right? And
say, here it is. And if the communication is good between them, then the woman in her own way, in her own wisdom, can suggest things which will really shape and mold him. And sometimes women are so clever, man. They can mold us and we don't even know we're being molded.
Right. That's true.
It still comes back to the willingness. And when you love a person, you want to please them. You want to please a person. Even the little things that you may have little pet peeves, like hey, can you put the top back on the toothpaste? That could be something that just irk you, but instead of copping an attitude about it and get angry and just like, what, I'm done with her because she don't put the cap back on the toothpaste, they say, baby, if you don't mind, can you just put the cap back on the toothpaste? So it still comes back down to communication. And can men be molded? Yeah, because my mom told me this when I was 14. I was a freshman in high school and I was dating a senior.
Okay.
And my mom was irate. And she was like, do you not know she's not just 18, but she's 5 years older on top of that. She's 5 years older. So she's actually 23. So when she was telling me that women are a whole lot more mature than men are.
Right.
And so no matter how close in age, a lot of times you give that woman another 5 years of maturity and of wisdom. And that's what I say. God has given, God has put into the womb of women some great insight and has given it to the men too. And I just don't think as men, we are as sensitive to what we're sensing.
Right.
And what is being presented before us. But to women, they can see when a woman really loves you, she wants, I don't want to say really love you, just when a woman loves you, period, she wants the best out of you.
Right.
And so you'll make suggestions, she'll mold, and she'll even try to change up your wardrobe and do things that's and all those things. And all those things are good, especially if she's buying the clothes. Hey, come on, change my wardrobe.
Right. So where can the people find your books?
My books are on Amazon.
Okay.
They're on Amazon. You can type in Andre Fullwood and you'll find both my books. They're also, if you want autographed copies, you can just contact me.
Okay.
They can buy PayPal and send the money that way with their mailing address. And I'll usually when I sign them, I just don't sign them. I seek the Lord for some type of prophetic word to speak into their lives, and I'll mail them off that way as well.
Okay. And for those listeners who enjoyed your conversation, how can they follow you on social media?
Okay, on Facebook it's Andre D as in David Fullwood. Same with Instagram. On Twitter, I am Andre Fullwood and the number 1. Also, it is Coach AD Fullwood. On LinkedIn, it is Andre Fullwood as well. So you just type in Andre Fullwood, you will find me on all those social media networks. If they want to call, I have a telephone number they can reach me. It's area code 864-402-9052. And my website, they can always go to my website, is www.andrefullwood.com.
So when is your next Men Talk, and where is it going to be again?
It's going to be in Spartanburg, South Carolina, October 27th. It's going to be at Church Builders, and it's Pastor Jim Rutledge is the pastor of that church. I'll have more flyers and stuff coming out very soon. I do have it on my banner on my Facebook page. This one's going to just be one day.
Okay.
It's just for men, ladies. It is just for men. Amen. We had some women showed up, but the Lord showed me something by them showing up. So the next one, the Lord presents, I'm gonna have a night where not just the wives come with the men, but if there's sisters who have brothers, mothers and sons. And what the Lord showed me was on that night is I saw the men at the altar, but I saw the women behind them holding them up as they petition God. And the women prayed for that husband, prayed for that brother, prayed for that uncle, that cousin, so that they can be everything that God has ordained for them to be. I saw that when I was in Pensacola on that particular Friday night. So not this time around, but the next time, that's what I'm going to have so that the women can go. Because the one thing, young women, as much as you love the word of God, men have a hard time opening up when there's a woman present.
Right.
They have a hard time, and that's why. See, I don't know. For me, I can't go to a women's conference because to me it's women. So let the women get what the women need.
Right.
But women just have they have no restraint about straight because they're hungry to be free. They've been hurting. They've been, they could be stuck. They're trying to move forward. But it's men, it's so hard for us already to open up and share. And so to provide an avenue for men to speak and to release. And usually what I found out, Kevin, all it takes is one.
Right.
All it takes is one man to be transparent, to the bone.
Right.
And then that opens the door. That opens the floodgates for everything else. The one thing that I did, and I picked it up from another ministry who they call it Man Cave, was they took 3x5 cards and they had the men write out whatever it was they felt, and they went through each one and they asked whatever that question was, and that began to open up. And I did that in Pensacola as well. We didn't get to those because God moved so much. We didn't even get to answer the question, but we felt that God dealt with every need that was in the house.
Okay. So you also have another radio show. So what's the name of that show?
That's the Monday through Friday morning. It's called Sunrise Meditations.
Okay.
It's 7 a.m. Trying to go. Originally, it was trying to be just a half hour, but it's going to an hour. So I set it for an hour. But it's Sunrise Meditations, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. on blogtalkradio.com / the New Life Project.
Okay.
blogtalkradio.com / the New Life Project. And what it is a daily devotional. And I've taken it from Rick Renner, who wrote 2 books called Sparkling Gems. And what it is he goes through pretty much a deep study of the Greek definition of the New Testament scriptures. And so right now we just covered last week about the works of the flesh. Now we're talking about the fruit of the spirit. And so at the end of the teaching, there's a prayer, there's a declaration, and then there's 3 questions that you have to really meditate on throughout the day. Is really self-seeking to see where you at based upon the lesson that has been taught. So that's Monday through Friday at 7 a.m.
All right. So what I want you to do is, I know you got to get ready to go. You got your show at 9 o'clock. What's the link to your show so those who might want to get more from you tonight, they can go to your show tonight? So how can they find your show tonight?
Okay. The link is www.blogtalkradio.com / the New Life Project.
Okay, so it's the same one for Men Talk and for
yes.
Okay.
Yes, the same one. And I have a call-in number, which is area code 657-383-0157. So they can call in live. They can just listen live, or if they want to hit the number 1 on their phone, I can open up their mic and then they can join in on the conversation live.
Okay. So as we get ready to go, I wanted you to give you the opportunity to speak to the audience, whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your spirit, to go ahead and say it to the audience, whatever you feel is needed for them to hear.
Amen. Thank you. First, I want to address my sisters, and I want to stand in the gap for every man that has hurt you, every man that has betrayed you, every man who did not fulfill his promise towards you. I stand in the gap even for those that I've done wrong, and I apologize from the bottom of my heart with all sincerity. A lot of things we don't know why we do the things we've done. And a lot of men may not come back and apologize for what they've done because they're still out there doing it and don't understand why they do what they do. So I ask you to forgive us all. To the ones that took your trust for granted, the ones that molested you, the ones that raped you, the ones that violated you. I stand in the gap and I say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's such a cowardly act. It's such a cowardly behavior. So I stand in the gap for all the men tonight. And I say, I'm sorry. Whether they will ever come out to acknowledge it or not, I'm here to do so on all of men's behalf. We should all be a work in progress, and I don't use that as an excuse, and I'm not going to say, well, God is still working on me and continue to do what I'm doing. No. May the heavy conviction of men's hearts be found within them for them to cry out to God, to do something new within them, to break the mindsets of old traditions, even religious traditions. And if you've been hurt by a leader, by a pastor, by a prophet, by an apostle, by a bishop, by a deacon, by a trustee, and whoever else you can name with titles in the church, if they have betrayed you in any type of way, if they've lied to you to even have you believe that you're going to be the next first lady, I apologize to you. I'm going to say this to my sisters and then talk to my brothers. If you don't see the divorce papers in their hand and they're just getting a divorce and they're just going through, I'm just going through the book, and they can't show no proof, tell them to come back and see you after the fact.
Right.
Tell them to come back and see you after the fact. Get the proof, get the papers. Okay? Do not believe that the only man that you can have is a married man. That is not true. That is not true. And if he's cheating on his wife, then he most likely probably is going to cheat on you.
Right.
Okay? The church does not have time to be having side chicks. Don't be a side chick. Don't be a side piece. Men, the same thing. Don't you be a side piece to a married woman at all. Don't be, don't do it. Just don't do it. That is my heartfelt thing. Don't do it. And to my brothers out there, just surrender to God. Surrender to God. There's greatness in all of you out there that's listening to me. There's a purpose and there's a destiny. God already has our purpose predestined, but we have to walk out our destiny, and it's up to you to do that. But you have to understand your purpose, and our purpose is not to keep hurting women, to keep lying to women, to beat up on women and to abuse women. That is not our purpose. Our women are crying out for godly men. They're looking for kingdom men, and we need to stand up. We really need to stand up. My heart aches about this thing because I talk about in this book, 39 years of slavery. I've so many marriages and things like that, and yet God still said, son, I still desire for you to be married. So there are some things that Andre had to work out. It wasn't them, it was me. Okay, and so we have to get to the point where we have to confess, amen, what is your heart's desire? Do you desire to really be a kingdom man? Do you even understand what a kingdom man is? Do you understand what it takes to be a covenant man? These things we have to seek out the answers for. And man talk is all about that. Man talk is just really just laying down the raw information about who we are, our mistakes. We always keep talking about being real, but are we really being real?
Right.
And I really don't think we're really being as transparent as we're supposed to be. And the thing that I like the most is Paul said, I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. You have to die. Your image, your ego, your pride, your whatever else, your swag, all that stuff has to die. If you want to be the maximum, if you want to take it to the max of who you are and who God intended for you to be, you just got to die. And it's going to hurt, and it's going to be painful. It's like watching someone go through detox in a padded room from drugs, and they're going through the shakes and going through things. It is not going to be easy because you've been doing things all your life and really never been told to stop.
Right.
You haven't been told to stop. So it's a part, it has become a part of you. But when are you ready to say, okay, God, enough is enough? When are you ready to get off the gerbil, get off the wheel of like the gerbil, just going round and round and round, and the scenery doesn't change? And I heard something very, very profound from author Brandy Hunt. She said she dated the same men for 10 years. They just had different names. That was so profound to me, where I memorized it. And many of us are dating the same people with different names, same characteristics, everything. Ask God to help you break that cycle. Ask God to help you break. Why do I find myself being drawn to the same type of people? So I encourage you today, if God can work and do a work in me, he can also do a work in you. I can help you. I'm willing to help you. All you have to do is reach out. We can't do this thing alone. We all need each other. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
I truly appreciate it. So I'm definitely looking forward to us connecting in person.
Yes, sir.
One day soon. So we're going to keep in touch. And maybe we could collaborate, do something together in person as well. So once again, I thank you. You did an amazing job tonight. And for my listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Wellness Architect Show. This has been your boy, Kevin Thornton. Be you, be authentic, and we are out. Peace.